Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Sean's Horror Corner. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you tuning in. Today, we're going to be talking about Scary Movie 6, or just Scary Movie, whichever way you want to call it. Um, I went and saw this in theaters Saturday night. And, a little spoiler free stuff here for just a moment. Not that spoilers, I think, is a huge deal for this kind of movie, but I had heard a lot of negativity about this movie. I had heard so many people, uh, I say so many, I'd heard a lot of people complaining about this one, talking about how disappointing it was. Um, I heard two people in particular talk about the theater that they went to, decent amount of people in, and nobody even laughing. So as I started hearing some of these things, my expectations were dropping big time for this movie. And it's funny because I'm not a huge fan of this franchise anyway. I really like the first two movies. I think Scary Movie is really good. Scary Movie 2 is my favorite. I think that one's hilarious. And then from there, this franchise just kind of slowly falls off. And with each one, I was enjoyed it a little bit more going into this one. But it had been a while. I was excited to hear about the Wayans brothers being back and some other people being back, and so I was I was kind of looking forward to seeing this and wanted to check it out. And as I started hearing other people talk about it, I'm like, oh no, is this really going to be that bad? Um, the theater I went to was probably half full. I would say there was a decent amount of people in there, and yeah, my experience was completely different from the other people that I had listened to. Uh, I heard a lot of laughs. I heard people really enjoying themselves, and I don't think this movie's terrible. It's not great, but it's a scary movie. I wonder sometimes what people expect when they go to see this kind of movie because again, if you just wanting if you just want to go in and laugh and have a good time and the jokes don't land for you and that kind of stuff, totally get it. But I even heard one person, or I guess this one I didn't hear, I was reading one person talking about plot holes and things not making sense, and I'm like, have you ever seen a scary movie before? We don't go into these films for incredibly solid plots. We don't go into these films wanting everything to make complete sense. You go into this one just wanting to laugh and relax and have a good time. And, I had a week this week, or last week, I guess I should say, um, incredibly stressful week at work. There's a lot going on where I work right now. Uh, Also wasn't feeling the best this week, had some other stuff going on, and to be able to go in Saturday night and get my popcorn and my drink and just have a few laughs, I had a good time with this experience. So again, I don't think this movie is great. um, there are some jokes that don't land, but there were some that did, and one part in particular that I thought was incredibly funny. So I don't know where some of the criticism to this one's coming from. um, Again, it's not going to be my favorite in the franchise. I still think the first two movies in this franchise are the funniest one. The second one is my favorite, primarily because of Strong Hand. That cracks me up in the second film. Uh, but this isn't bad. So I really don't know where some of what I've seen and heard is coming from on this one. But let's go ahead and get into a few of the notes that I have for this, and then we'll walk through the plot as much as we can. This is a hard one to as I got out of the theater last night and I got back home and I was trying to put my notes together, this was hard to do because if you try to just remember, there's a lot going on. There's so many parodies. There's so many different things that happen, uh, sometimes so randomly that it's hard to really give a thorough plot walkthrough. But I'm going to do my best, and so we'll see how that works. But yeah, scary movie from 2026. Tagline for the film: Every line will be crossed. Brief synopsis: 26 years after outrunning a suspiciously familiar mass killer, the Core Four are back in the killer's crosshairs, and no horror movie IP is safe. Film released June 5th of 2026, directed by Michael Tides, I believe is how you say that. Written by Marlon Wayans, Sean Wayans, Keenan Ivory Wayans, Craig Wayans, and Rick Alvarez. Runtime of 96 minutes. Budget of $30 million. So far at the box office, it's made 25 million. So in these first few days, it's done pretty well. Cast for the film, I'm only going to name a couple of names. Our primary cast that returns: Marlon Wayans, Sean Wayans, Anna Faris, Regina Hall. Let me stop there and we'll talk cast and characters. So again, uh, let me just start here. Marlon Wayans is great in this. I think, and he, probably one of the best characters in the first two movies as well. Um, but as soon as he popped up on the screen and was doing his thing last night, it was just kind of, it brought back memories of watching these first two films. I thought it was funny. I was, glad to have him back. And spoiler, I'm going to get way ahead of myself here to the end of the film. But there's a scene at the end of the film. This was, to me, the funniest scene of the entire movie, where Marlon Wayans does a impression of Shaquille O'Neal, and it actually had me laugh out loud. Like, I thought that was so funny to me. And yes, we've seen other people do. Well, I've seen other people do impressions of Shaq before, but this just cracked me up with the timing and everything. And I thought it was so good. So, really enjoyed seeing him back. Shawn Wayans is good in this as well. Anna Faris, who I like in the other Scary Movie parts in this franchise. Um, she's still fine. I don't think she's quite as good. I'm not saying she's bad, but I don't think she's quite as good as Cindy in this one as she was in the first few films in this franchise. Again, she's still not bad, but um, of our primary four that return, she might be my least favorite in this film. Um, she's okay, and I see what they're doing with her here, but I just wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't as great. Regina Hall, I think, is good. I kind of like what they did with her character here in this one. She's in some of the other Scary Movie films. She's funny, but also sometimes annoying. In this film, I feel like the annoying was kind of um, I don't know how to say it. She wasn't as annoying, you know. And I don't want to say that as like I said, she's not always annoying. I don't mean it that way. She's funny, but just sometimes her character's over the top. I didn't feel this bad with this one. Like I liked her character here as well, and thought she was good. So yeah, with that, I enjoyed, for the most part here, our main four people returning. We get other, we've also got Doofy back in this movie. It was funny to see him back. Um, Greg, who was I'm trying to remember who, I guess he was Shannon Elizabeth's boyfriend in the first film. He's back in this one. We get a few other appearances here and there, but it was, kind of good seeing some of those people return to the franchise as well, for brief roles here and there. I mean, I enjoyed all of that. Um, Cast and character issue that I have, and it's not so much with the cast. I don't think anybody does a bad job in this film. I mean, everybody's playing silly, goofy characters, right? So I feel like the rest of the cast does what they need to do. However, the rest of these characters are not impressive, for just lack of a better word. I don't feel like our other characters and that might be intentional when you get to the end of the film and we get some reveals and things going on. But, it's just kind of like doing something very similar here to what like Scream 5 and 6 did, where, we've still got our iconic cast members making appearances, but now we're trying to center around this other group. And this film looks like it's doing the same type of thing. I mean, it's a parody, right? But I just don't really care about any of these other characters. I didn't think any of them were that funny. Sarah, who is Cindy's daughter, um, I don't know if she ever had a line that I thought was funny. She was just like, okay, this girl's kind of annoying. It really was the impression that I got from her. The character of Tuesday, the play on the, Wednesday thing. She had moments here and there. Um, I'm trying to remember the other guy's name. And again, so much of this movie is centered around like a Scream 5, 6 thing, but Jack, that's his name. Sorry. Um, he has moments where he's funny. I think he gets pushed a little too much. We get a lot of repetitive jokes in this film, and some of it does start to get old here and there, but it's got its moments. So cast, I enjoyed seeing the older cast members return, newer cast members, whatever. Basically, that's kind of where we are there. Cinematography, I mean, it's a scary movie. It looks fine. It's fine. There's nothing here that's going to jump out at me as, oh, this was amazing, but it does what it needs to do. Kind of the same thoughts where score is concerned. The story, I like for the most part. Again, this movie has moments that I think are a couple of moments that I thought were really funny. Several moments throughout the film that I thought were, that was kind of funny, made me smile. I mean, it was funny. And then other moments where it just doesn't land as well. But that I feel like is all of the films in these franchise. They have moments where they're really funny. They have moments where not so much. They have moments where it's okay. That was kind of funny. I mean, it is what it is, right? And I feel like that's what this movie did. I enjoyed my experience with this one, but only things I really have as far as production notes are not really anything that major. This is the first film since Scary Movie 2 to involve the Wayans brothers, and that was back in like 2001, I think. Um, Parodies include Get Out, Long Legs, Final Destination Bloodlines, Sinners, Scream 5 and 6, Halloween from 2018, Smile, Megan, Weapons, The Substance, Terrifier 3, Ma. I'm sure there was a lot more. That's just some of the things, some of the ones that I caught and was able to remember as I got it. It's harder to do these reviews coming out of the theater because I can't sit there in the theater and take notes like I do when I watch these things at home. But so I'm trying to remember things as I'm getting through the rest of my night and getting home where I can then sit down and get with my, my pen and my paper and start trying to remember things. But a lot of parodies in this film. And I think most of them are done pretty well. Most of them are, um, even if they're not great, there are some that I think are really funny. And like I said, there are others that even if they're not hilarious, they, do cause me to at least smile. I mean, I had a good time with this. Don't think this is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this was an absolutely amazing, hilarious movie. Not the case, but it's good. It's not terrible. All right, let's try to walk through the plot and discuss this somewhat the best I can. Again, I don't think you go to watch a scary movie film for the plot. We know what they are. They're parodies, right? They're going to make fun of other things. They're going to be silly, uh, but we'll try to cover it here for the most part. The opening of the film we get Tuesday instead of Wednesday. Um, One thing that I did find slightly amusing, just in the way they did the title for this, is so this movie does the opening very similar to like what a Scream 4 movie did, where we've got a character actually watching a movie where this is happening. In Scream, we have Stab. Here, for Scary Movie, we have a horror movie. It was the name of it. And I found that slightly amusing for some reason that's the way they did it. But very similar to the Scream 5 opening, with Jenna Ortega being the opening attack. We get Tuesday here being the opening attack. Um, it's fine. A couple of moments, like I said, that I thought were nothing here that's hilarious, nothing here that's amazing, but it was slightly humorous. Just some of the things they did throughout this. So not a bad opening. From there, we meet again. We're very much sticking with the Scream 5 kind of thing. Um, we meet Sarah. We meet Jack. They find out that Sarah's sister Tuesday has been attacked, so they end up going to visit her. I believe it's somewhere in here where we also get introduced to Shorty again, Marlon Wayans' character, and find out that he's still in school, which I found was, again, funny. I like seeing his character back on screen. We get kind of a Sinners parody with Sean Williams going on, where he goes to church and is telling them he's not gay anymore. Also, a somewhat. I think this scene was a bit overdone. It started off as funny the way it was being done, but then as it just kept going and going, I'm like, okay, that's enough of this. But again, it's scary movie. Like, what do you expect? They're gonna do these things. This is a movie that I feel like you're someone who is if you're someone who's easily offended, you might get upset watching this film. But if you're someone that's easily offended, you're probably not going to see this kind of movie anyway. I liked the way some of the humor was directed. Yeah, mean, it worked for me in that kind of thing. But again, Sarah and Jack, they visit, Tuesday in the hospital. They also then go visit Cindy, which is again Sarah and Tuesday's mom. Um, we kind of get the Halloween 2018 Jamie Lee Curtis thing here going on with Cindy. Uh, there's a scene where Ghostface attacks Sarah in the hospital. Doofy comes back. We get to meet him. Um, still doing his doofy things, and I like the fact that they bring him back for this, very similar to how uh, Dewey was brought back in Scream, but they also even mentioned him being the killer from the first scary movie. They This movie does a lot of look at the audience, break the fourth wall kind of thing, where they reference the other scary movies. At times, I thought it was funny the way it was done. There were other times where I just kind of shook my head. But again, I feel like this movie, the jokes hit and miss a lot. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. But again, to me, that's every scary movie that we've watched so far. For someone to watch this movie and tell me that they didn't laugh at all, I'm sorry you were disappointed. I did. For someone to watch this movie and be like, sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's just silly. Well, again, have you seen any of the other scary movies in this series? Because that's what they all do. But we meet the friend group. Brenda's kids are here, and of course they're very much like our Chad and Mindy characters from the Scream franchise. Um, but we have this meeting at Brenda's, and we've got Doofy there. We've got the new cast that's there. Cindy ends up showing up. Yeah, Marlon and Sean Wayne's character both show up. So we've got that thing that's going on. Uh, Sheriff Greg, he ends up heading back to his house, and he gets the Ghostface call, and both he and his son are killed. We also get Sherry O'Terry returning as Gail, which I found amusing a couple of times with her part. She's not in here a ton, but there's just kind of a stretch of the movie where she's back. And then, of course, we get Doofy being killed, very similar to how Dewey was killed in Scream. Uh, Gail gets kind of a substance. We get the substance parody here with her death. Not bad. Um, I, I think as we kind of get into the middle of this movie here, I was enjoying the beginning. I'm like, okay, this is pretty funny. I'm having a good time with this. As we get into the middle, I'm like, okay, it's fine. I mean, this isn't great, but it's okay. Like I said, some things are funny, some aren't. Um, Brenda's kids end up getting killed, of course, by Ghostface, and then we kind of get this reveal of Jack and Elle which is another one of the new characters brought in, that they're the Ghostface killers, and that they're wanting to take this franchise over, and that they're going to be the new face of the franchise, that kind of thing. And then we have just like these multiple Ghostfaces coming from all over the place, and Cindy going through battles with them, and fighting all these different Ghostfaces that for the most part was entertaining, a little silly at times, but funny at times, and overall I was okay with. Before Cindy and Brenda end up getting captured. But here, we get another little plot twist, and this was the ending of this movie was probably my favorite part of the entire movie, because again, I had enjoyed the opening, I had enjoyed some of the parodies that we were getting throughout the film. Like I said, stuff on weapons, on Get Out, on there's a Terrifier 3 thing there towards the beginning of the movie. There's a Megan thing on the subway. There's some good parodies that, like I said, most of them I thought were at least kind of funny. But at the end of this film, as we get these two characters of Jack and Elle, who are wanting to take over this franchise and that kind of thing, then suddenly more Ghostfaces show up, and we find out that it is Anthony Anderson, Shorty, Ray, and initially what they say is Kevin Hart, but turns out to be Shaq, which I found that scene funny as well. And they're all talking about being the OGs, and that they were going to, nobody was taking this franchise away from them, that kind of thing. But then we also have moments where Shorty and Ray get frustrated. Here's where I was talking about where Marlon Wayans does the impression of Shaq that I thought was hilarious. Shorty and Ray end up killing Shaq and Anthony Anderson. And then they decide to, while they're upset with Cindy and Brenda for the fact that the Wayans brothers weren't in the franchise for a while, they end up letting them go. And they kind of all attack Sarah and Tuesday and tie them up and set the house on fire. And, similar again to like a Scream thing, and walk out to leave them there. And again, they're talking about that this is going to be, that this is still their franchise. Nobody's taking it away from them. We also get like a mid-credit scene where we get Marlon Wayans playing a vampire character, Bros Ferratu. was kind of silly, but it was fine. We get an end credit scene with Chris Elliott back as shorthand, kind of doing the long legs thing that I thought was funny. Um, yeah, and that's it. I mean, again, not you don't watch this movie for the plot. You watch it for the parodies, for the jokes, for the humor, and I feel like it was fine. There are parts of this film that I really enjoyed, parts that I thought were really funny. There were parts that, even though I didn't think they were hilarious, still at least kind of got me to smile and shake my head, like, okay, that was good. And then there are other parts where that didn't land. But as I've said multiple times, that's what this franchise does. Every one of these movies has parts that are funny, parts that aren't, parts that are silly, parts that are clever. I mean, that's what this franchise is. So I don't know why you expected this to be any different. Um, Overall, as I've said multiple times on my show, horror comedies are not my thing. I think it takes a lot to land a horror comedy. I think sometimes you either go too much to the comedy side where it's not scary at all, or you go too much to the horror side and the comedy just doesn't work. This movie's not scary, but none of the scary movies are scary, so I didn't go in expecting it to be, which probably helps a little bit. This is not my favorite subgenre, so this is not going to be a movie that even if I enjoy it, I'm not going to rank it, an 8, 9, a 10. It would be really hard to get, I think, even a 7 out of me for this kind of franchise. Scary Movie 2 is probably the closest one because I really did enjoy it. But for this one, I don't think this is terrible. This is not a terrible movie. It's pretty basic and is what it is for the Scary Movie franchise. I don't think it's as good as 1 or 2, but I think it's better than 3, 4, and 5. So, it's kind of middle area of this franchise, and because of that, my score is going to be pretty middle. On my scale of 1 to 10, typically if I give a movie a 5 or a 6, it means it's pretty much in that average category. Uh, you know, 5 is right there in the middle. This is not good, but not bad, very average. The fact that I enjoyed a couple of things of this movie make it a little better than a 5 to me. I still don't think it's great. It's not fantastic. It's not excellent. It's not even very good, but it's a solid good. So on my scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Scary Movie 6 a 6 out of 10. Let me know what you think. If you've seen this movie, do you agree with me on it? Or were you like a lot of other people I've heard and were disappointed and didn't think it was funny at all? Do you think it's hilarious? Let me know your thoughts on Scary Movie 6 and on this franchise in general. I'm very curious. I love the interaction and seeing what people have to say about these films. But yeah, 6 out of 10 for me on this one. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. I've got a lot of fun things coming. I'll be back in a couple of days with Sarah and Kelly from Final Girls, and we'll be talking about the first Final Destination film. They are going to start going through that entire franchise with me, so we'll be talking about all of the Final Destination movies with them. We'll be having that first one coming up here in just the next couple of days. Next week, I have episodes coming up on Jaws 2. Aaron from A&B Horror Movies will be back with me to talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. My friends Robbie and Kaylee over at That Horror Couple will be back to talk about Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. So a lot of fun stuff coming. Be sure and subscribe so you don't miss anything. Follow me on social media. I'm pretty much on everything out there. Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, X, TikTok, Letterboxd. Just search Sean's Horror Corner and you'll be able to find any of that. Like I said, leave me some comments, hit the like button, hit the hype button, hit the share button. I appreciate everything you guys do. I will see you soon.